1975. Queen is broke, exhausted, and one step away from losing everything. The label wants a safe hit. The band delivers a 6-minute monster no one understands. It has no chorus, shifts genres mid-song, and sounds like nothing on the radio. Executives laugh. Critics predict failure. Some even call it career suicide. What happens next doesn't just save a band, it rewrites rock history. This is the story of the song that shut everyone up. By the middle of 1975, Queen was standing at a dangerous crossroads. The band had worked relentlessly for years, building their sound and their identity. They had 2 albums behind them, Queen and Queen 2, that earned critical attention and a loyal fan base, followed by Sheer Heart Attack, which pushed them closer to mainstream recognition. But that rise in fame didn't translate into financial stability. The truth was brutal. The band members were broke, drowning in legal disputes, and questioning how much longer they could keep going. Management conflicts drained their energy, and despite packed concert halls, most of the money disappeared before it reached their pockets. They were rock stars in image, but in reality, their future hung by a thread. Behind the curtain, the mood was tense. The rehearsals that fans imagined as euphoric were often silent, broken by arguments and fatigue. Studio time wasn't just expensive, it was a gamble with money they didn't have. Every extra hour recording felt like a debt they might never pay back. At night, conversations turned dark. What if the next album flopped? What if the label finally lost patience? This wasn't just about fame, it was about survival, about whether 4 young men with extraordinary ambition could withstand the crushing machinery of the music industry.
Are you ready? Hey, are you ready? This I stand in the lead.
Meanwhile, the rules of the game were clear, almost suffocating. Radio stations demanded simple, short, catchy tunes. 3 minutes was the golden limit. No operas, no strange detours, nothing experimental. The charts were dominated by predictable pop-safe hits that kept executives happy. But Queen was not a band built for safety. They weren't content with following formulas. Freddie Mercury, in particular, despised the idea of being ordinary. He wanted something bigger, something theatrical, something no one could ignore. He was not chasing a hit, he was chasing immortality. As these pressures mounted, the band faced a choice: play it safe or risk everything. Brian May brought in powerful riffs, a wall of sound anchored in hard rock tradition. Roger Taylor added thunderous drum ideas that could shake any arena. John Deacon delivered bass lines that glued everything together, but Freddie was on a different wavelength entirely. In his mind, an idea was forming a concept so ambitious it bordered on madness. While others worried about pleasing radio, he dreamed of crafting a masterpiece that would redefine what a rock song could be. That ambition lit a fuse. Late-night sessions turned into marathons of sound experiments. Bits of piano merged with operatic harmonies. Guitar solos collided with choral arrangements. They were creating something so unconventional it was almost impossible to explain to outsiders. It wasn't just a song, it was a puzzle made of genres, opera, ballad, hard rock, woven into a seamless 6-minute journey. In a world demanding simplicity, Queen decided to deliver complexity on an epic scale. That decision would either destroy them or make them legends. The idea came to Freddie Mercury long before it hit the studio. In interviews, he confessed that pieces of what would become Bohemian Rhapsody were floating in his head for years, scribbled in notebooks under the title The Cowboy Song. It started as fragments of ballad here, an operatic chorus there like pieces of a musical puzzle only he could see. He would sit at the piano in his Kensington flat, hammering out melodies late into the night, his mind racing far beyond the expectations of radio-friendly rock. While most artists were chasing hooks, Freddie was sketching a symphony disguised as a single. As the vision solidified, he brought it to the band, and their reactions were mixed. They knew Freddie was brilliant, but this? 6 minutes long, no clear chorus, shifting styles like chapters in a novel. It sounded insane by every industry standard. Brian May recalled thinking, "It was unusual, but we were used to unusual with Freddie." The band trusted his instincts, even if they couldn't fully grasp the scale of what he intended. And so, they dove in headfirst, turning a bold concept into a shared mission, to make the impossible real.
I standing on the edge of seat.
Recording began at Rockfield Studios in Wales, and it was unlike any session Queen had attempted. Freddie insisted on layer upon layer of vocal harmonies, building choirs out of just 3 voices, his, Brian's, and Roger's. They recorded for hours, stacking takes until the tape reels strained under the weight of overdubs. The operatic section alone consumed days of relentless effort, with Freddie orchestrating every line like a maestro commanding an orchestra. This wasn't just a song, it was architecture and sound. The lyrics were another enigma. Was it personal? Was it pure theater? Lines like "Scaramouche, will you do the fandango?" puzzled everyone, but Freddie brushed off explanations. "It's just nonsense," he'd say with a sly smile, but fans have spent decades decoding its meaning. Behind the playful words was a storm of emotion, a mix of confessions and fantasy that made the track both intimate and universal. Freddie never fully revealed the truth, and maybe that's why the song feels endless open to interpretation, alive with mystery. Piece by piece, the monster grew. From delicate piano passages to thunderous guitar riffs, from whispers to operatic shouts, the song refused to fit in any box. Queen knew it was special, but they also knew the risk. At a time when 3-minute singles ruled the airwaves, they were about to present a 6-minute epic with zero compromise. No shortcuts, no edits. Freddie was unapologetic. Either they take it as it is or not at all. That defiance set the stage for one of the greatest battles in rock history. When Queen finished Bohemian Rhapsody, they knew they had created something extraordinary, but the real fight had just begun. They proudly handed the track to their label, expecting resistance but hoping for vision. Instead, they were met with disbelief. Executives stared at the clock. 6 minutes. Too long for radio. Too weird. No one will play it, they said. The label insisted it needed to be cut down to 3 minutes. For Freddie Mercury, that was unthinkable. He told them flatly, "You either release it as it is or not at all." The pressure was immense. This wasn't just another single. It was the lead track from their new album, A Night at the Opera. If it failed, it could drag the entire project down with it. The record company begged for a safer option, something easier to digest, but Queen refused to compromise. They believed in every second of that song, the operatic madness, the abrupt shifts, the blazing guitar solo. Freddie argued passionately, "If we edit this, it's no longer what it's meant to be." The standoff grew tense. Millions of dollars and the band's future hung in the balance. Then came an unexpected ally, Kenny Everett, a flamboyant radio DJ and close friend of Freddie. Everett loved the song instantly. When the label hesitated, Freddie slipped him a copy with a wink and strict instructions. "Don't play it." Everett broke that promise almost immediately, playing the full track 14 times in 2 days. Listeners went crazy, calling stations, demanding to know, "What is that song?" The underground buzz exploded into national demand before the single was even officially out. By then, the label had no choice. Public pressure turned the gamble into an inevitability. Bohemian Rhapsody was released in October 1975, uncut, unapologetic, and unlike anything else on the charts. Critics predicted disaster, calling it pretentious, a joke, even career suicide. But Freddie and the band were undeterred. They knew they weren't chasing trends, they were setting them. Every instinct told them this song could change everything. What happened next silenced every doubt. The song soared to #1 in the United Kingdom, holding the top spot for 9 weeks. It conquered charts around the world, redefining what a rock single could be. Queen had not only won the battle, they rewrote the rules of the game. The track that would never work became one of the greatest songs in music history, and it wasn't luck. It was vision, stubbornness, and an unshakable belief in something bigger than fear. The release of Bohemian Rhapsody was more than a victory on the charts. It was a cultural detonation. In a world that told artists to play safe, Queen had taken the ultimate risk and turned it into triumph. 6 minutes of operatic rock madness became the most requested song on radio, the fastest-selling single in British history at the time, and a statement that creativity could crush convention. The industry's golden rule, keep it short, keep it simple, was shattered overnight. This success wasn't just numbers, it was validation. For Queen, it proved that their instincts were stronger than anyone's doubts. The same executives who once called it a disaster now bragged about their role in its release. The critics who laughed were suddenly praising its genius. And the band? They were no longer outsiders clawing for relevance. They were architects of a new era, untouchable and unstoppable. The song also changed music videos forever. Bohemian Rhapsody's groundbreaking promo clip shot for just a few £1,000 became a template for the future of music television years before channels like MTV existed. It wasn't just a song anymore, it was a visual and sonic revolution, turning Queen into icons beyond the stage. From opera sections to headbanging guitar riffs, everything about it screamed boldness, and the world loved them for it. But beyond fame and records, something deeper happened. Queen earned absolute creative freedom. They would never again be told what they could or couldn't do. The song didn't just save their career, it gave them the power to dream even bigger. From that moment on, no experiment was too ambitious, no stage too grand. Freddie Mercury had kicked down the door, and behind him, the rest of the band walked into immortality. Looking back, it's almost surreal to think this masterpiece was once considered a mistake. A track that began as a fragment in Freddie's mind became one of the most celebrated songs in history, voted greatest single of all time in countless polls. What started as the biggest risk in Queen's life turned into the anthem that defined their legacy, all because they refused to bow to fear and instead trusted in the power of their vision. When the world first heard Bohemian Rhapsody in 1975, no one imagined how far its echo would reach. It wasn't just another hit, it was a revolution in sound, but its story didn't end in that era. What began as a risky experiment became a timeless force, refusing to fade even as decades passed. From vinyl to streaming, from late-night radio to viral memes, this song has lived 1,000 lives. The first resurrection came in 1991, under the darkest of circumstances. Freddie Mercury, the voice and soul of Queen, passed away after a long, private battle with illness. The news shook the world, and suddenly, Bohemian Rhapsody wasn't just a hit, it became a hymn of remembrance. Fans mourned by blasting those operatic harmonies, turning grief into a collective act of love. The track soared back to the top of the charts in the United Kingdom, climbed again in the United States, and dominated radio worldwide. The same critics who once called it too weird to work now called it untouchable. But the story didn't stop there. In 1992, a low-budget comedy changed everything again. Wayne's World featured a now legendary scene, four friends head banging in a car to Bohemian Rhapsody. It was silly, it was joyful, and it was iconic. That single moment reignited the song for an entirely new generation, pushing it back onto the charts 17 years after its debut. Suddenly, high school kids who weren't born in the 70s were singing Galileo at the top of their lungs. The song wasn't nostalgia anymore, it was reborn, woven into the fabric of pop culture once again. The 21st century only made the legend grow. With the rise of streaming and social media, Bohemian Rhapsody conquered platforms Freddie Mercury never lived to see. Viral challenges, memes, and digital tributes introduced it to millions more listeners. By 2018, The release of the biopic Bohemian Rhapsody turned the song into a global obsession all over again. It broke records on video platforms, becoming the first classic rock track to surpass 1 billion views, proof that the song was no relic, but a living monument.
Out the doorway, the bullets river.
More than 4 decades after its birth, its power remains unshaken. This is not just music, it's a cultural artifact that transcends time, technology, and taste. The song that critics mocked, the one that would never work, became a masterpiece studied, celebrated, and immortalized. Bohemian Rhapsody didn't just save Queen in 1975, it gave them eternal life. And every time that first piano note plays, a new generation discovers why. Bohemian Rhapsody was never just a song, it was a declaration of freedom. It proved that art can break every rule, defy every critic, and still conquer the world. What began as a gamble in a small studio became one of the greatest cultural forces in music history. It didn't just save Queen from collapse, it gave them the immortality they dreamed of. Today, it still climbs charts, fills arenas, and dominates playlists across generations. The world sings it in stadiums, whispers it in cars, and shares it in countless videos online. That's what true genius does, it refuses to fade. Which part of its story amazed you most? Which lyric still gives you chills when you hear it? If you love music that changes everything, hit subscribe and join us on the next journey through the songs that defined our lives. Because behind every timeless track, there's a story worth telling, and this one was just the beginning.